Good morning and welcome to another episode of Craft Here and Now. This is actually episode 6. And today I would like to demonstrate corner to corner Tunisian blanket. This is not the simple stitch. This is the stitch that I used in episode 1 to make the dishcloth. And I don't know the technical name for it, but it is what I call the no curl, because it doesn't curl like the simple stitch does. This is one sample. Here's another example, the same thing. And it's actually, this would be row 1, row 2, row 3, and then you fill in the empty blocks. I have a piece here. So here we have row 1, row 2, and row 3, and then you fill in the empty blocks. And this is what I would like to show you today. And I will try to do it as quickly as possible. It's a little bit time consuming, and especially for me, I'm not fast at Tunisian crochet. So please bear with me as I go through this explanation, and to be a bit more helpful to some of you, I have typed up a set of instructions. Now this is not complete, but it will explain what I'm doing. This is the first block, which is also row 1 of the blanket, and that's going to look like this when we're finished. So to do that, just make a slip knot and then chain 7 loosely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you want to pick up 6 stitches, so you chain over and start in the second chain from the hook, and you pick up 1, yarn over, pick up 2, yarn over, 3, yarn over, 4, yarn over, 5, and yarn over, and 6. Okay, so you now have 13 stitches on your hook. So you want to create your edge, and you do that by yarning over and pass through 1. Now for the rest of the row, yarn over, pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3, and you do that all the way to the end of the row. Now you have just completed your setup row, and each row in Tunisian crochet consists of a forward pass, which is the pickup row, and the return pass, which is you pass through. So now we are going to do row 1, and the rest of the square will consist of repeating row 1. So we are going to pick up 6 stitches. Now just ignore those first 2 stitches on the end and start with, there are pairs of stitches, one vertical and one that's a little bit slanted to the left, and you want to yarn over, go underneath those 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through those 2 stitches. Now you have picked up 1. So it's very important to go under both those stitches, otherwise you will create a hole. So yarn over, underneath both those stitches, yarn over, pull through. That's 2 stitches. Yarn over, that's 3, 4, 5, and for the last stitch, number 6, you want to use that loop on the edge. So yarn over and go through that loop on the edge, yarn over and pull through. So now you have 13 stitches on your hook. So yarn over, pass through 1 for the edge, and then yarn over and pass through 3 all the way down to the end. Okay, so now you have completed row 1 and 2. We need 5 rows for this particular block, and this pattern does have a lot of yarn over, so make sure that you are mindful of that. Yarn over, and we're going to pick up 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again that 6th stitch, yarn over and go through that loop on the side. And then you want to do your return pass row, which is yarn over, pass through just 1, and then yarn over and pass through 3. To do that twice more because I have 3 rows now, and I need to have a total of 5 rows. Okay, so now I have 4 rows. You can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more row. Forward pass row. Pick up 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th one through that loop on the edge, and then your return pass row, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over through 3, all the way down to the end. Okay, so now we've completed 5 rows and it's time to do the bind off. So we're going to bind off 7 stitches, beginning with the 2nd stitch from the hook. So insert your hook underneath that stitch, yarn over and gently pull through. That's 1. and then you look for vertical stitches at the top, one for each row. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, that's 2. Insert, yarn over, pull through, that's 3. 4, 5, 6, and I suggest you do this loosely, and yarn over, and the 7th bind off stitch is on the edge through that loop. So insert your hook into that edge loop, yarn over, and gently pull through, and then yarn over and pull through 1 to end your work. So that is row 1, which only consists of 1 block. Now we're going to do the 2nd row. So grab another bit of yarn, and you want to begin, this is where we left off. You want to begin diagonally across from where you ended up. So right here, because we are going to use these 5 edge stitches. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the bind off row. So we're going to start in the bottom, right here, right through those 2 loops, and just make a slip knot, pull it through, and I just want to show you what we're doing now on paper. This is row 2 of the blanket, which consists of 2 blocks. We're working on the first block now, and then we're going to complete the second block. So for the first block, put your slip knot in there and then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then yarn over and pick up 5 stitches, and you're going to start in the 2nd chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, yarn over each time, 3, 4, and then the 5th stitch is going to go into the same location where you started your slip knot, and right in the bottom there. Now you have 11 stitches on your hook. So yarn over and chain through 3, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 3, I pulled through 1 too many, so not a problem. We just have to repeat that row. So I'll go back to the beginning now. Sometimes that does happen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains, yarn over, pick up stitches from the 2nd one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is where you started the slip knot, 5. That's 11 stitches, and you do not have to do the chain 1 because we're using these edge stitches. So we just go through 3, yarn over, pass through 3, yarn over, pass through 3, yarn over through 3, and then through the last 3. And that is your setup row for the first block in row 2. Now, just as we did before, we are going to do a total of 5 rows and then the bind off row. So in this particular block, we are going to pick up 5 stitches. Yarn over, pick up 1, yarn over, pick up 2 in the same manner that we did with the last block. 3, 4, and the 5th stitch that you pick up will now be on that second row. So yarn over and go through that second row edge stitch, and you now have 11 stitches on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 3, all the way down. Okay, and you have to continue that for 5 rows. And each time you pick up stitches, at the end you want to yarn over and go through that edge, the next edge stitch that's in that block, the adjacent block. And that's how you connect these, which is wonderful because it eliminates having to connect pieces at the end of your work. Everything is all in place for you by doing these connecting blocks. Okay. Couple more rows. Yarn over, go through that next edge stitch, 3, one more row, we're almost there. Okay, so now we've completed 5 rows and we are going to bind off 7. So we are going to start in the second stitch from the hook, insert underneath that stitch, yarn over and gently pull through, and then look for the vertical stitches on the top. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th bind off stitch is right in the center between these 2 blocks. So just go underneath that, yarn over and pull through, and then your 7th bind off stitch is going to be right on top in that top corner there. So go underneath those 2 loops, yarn over and pull through. Now to make the second block in the second row, we are going to pick up 6 stitches this time because you're going to need an edge stitch. So for all the inner blocks you only pick up 5, but for the edge blocks you need to pick up 6. So yarn over, and that's why I say chain, do your bind off stitches loosely so you can get in and under there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th stitch you're going to go yarn over and through that edge loop. That's your 6th stitch. So now you should have 13 stitches on your hook. So for the edge you need to yarn over, pass through 1, and then yarn over and pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. All the way down to the end. And that is the setup row for the second block of the second row. And again, we are going to have to do 5 rows so that we can then bind off. So yarn over, pick up your 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then your 6th stitch is going to be through that edge loop. Then yarn over, go through 1, and then yarn over and pass through 3. All the way down to the end. And again, I passed through too many, so I'm going, if you make a mistake, this is a good opportunity for me to show you. Take your hook out and just hold on to that edge hook and just gently pull it out, and then just pick up those stitches again. It's not a big deal. It does happen. I'm sure it happens to all of us at one time or another. And the 6th stitch is the edge loop. Okay, so now you have to chain 1 and then yarn over and pass through 3, okay, and then again we have to do this few more times so that we have the 5 rows completed before the bind off row. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the 6th one is in that edge loop. So yarn over, pass through just 1, and then for the rest, yarn over and pass through 3. So as you can see, this is a very repetitious pattern. And for me, I find that Tunisian crochet is a little bit more tedious than traditional crochet. However, I do like the appearance of Tunisian crochet. That's just curling because I'm scrunching it up, but in general it does not curl. So I think you'll be pleased with this pattern. Nice, has a good texture to it. Excuse me. So again, yarn over and pick up those 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one is in the edge loop. So again, yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over and pass through 3, all the way down to the end. And we're almost there. We now have 4 rows. We need to complete 1 more row, and then we'll do the bind off. So yarn over, pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the edge stitch, go through that loop. There you have it. Yarn over, pass through 1, yarn over through 3. Now with Tunisian crochet, you always need to do a return pass row before you can do your bind off row. At least in the patterns that I've worked with, that holds true. Okay, we now have our 5 rows and we can bind off those 7 stitches. So again, you start with the 2nd stitch from the hook, insert underneath, yarn over and gently pull through. Sometimes I make these bind off stitches too tight and I just make it more difficult for myself because you will need these stitches later on. So again, you're looking for the vertical stitches, insert your hook, yarn over and gently pull through. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th bind off stitch will be through that edge loop. So insert your hook into that edge loop, yarn over, and gently pull through. Then you can just chain one and cut your yarn and pull through. So now we've completed row 1, 1 square, and row 2, 2 blocks. So we are going to work on the 3rd row now, and I want to thank you all for bearing with me through this process. We're going to do the 3rd row here now, which is this one, 1, 2, 3 blocks, and that will be the end of part 1. And then part 2 will show you how to fill in those squares. So again, we're going to start in the lower left corner. And start with your slip knot. Pull that through. And then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over and pick up stitches, starting with the 2nd chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one will be where you started your slip knot. So yarn over and go through there, and now you will have 11 stitches on your hook. So we do not need the edge, because the edge stitch, as we did for the end, because we're using these edge stitches. So that's why for the inner blocks you only need 11 stitches on your hook, and for the outer blocks you will need 13. So yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over through 3, yarn over through 3, yarn over through 3, and then through the last 3. So that completes the setup row for block 1 of row 3. And again, we are going to need 5 rows before the bind off. So it's just a matter of repeating row 1, pick up 5 stitches, 1, 2, let me get some yarn here, 3, 4, and then the 5th stitch you're going to go into the next edge stitch on the adjacent block. So yarn over and pick up that stitch. So you should have 11 stitches on your hook. So yarn over, pass through 3, all the way down to the end. Okay, and then we do it again. 1, 2, 3. I find some of these yarns easier to work with than others. 3, 4, or maybe it's just the way I'm using the tension. and then yarn over the 5th stitch. You're going into the next edge of the adjacent block. Yarn over and pull through 3. Okay, we're getting there. 2 more rows. Okay, pick that up. Right. Let me start that row again. I did something incorrectly in that row, so I need to rewind and take that row out and try that again. And this does happen. I will tell you, it does happen occasionally. So thank you for bearing with me. Yarn over. We'll get through this. Pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one through the side there. Yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pass through 3, and so we need 2 more rows. Each time you're going to move up on the edge stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can count the passes, that's 5. Going backwards. Okay. Now we need 1 more row and then the bind off. So pick up 5 stitches. And I think the key to Tunisian crochet is to crochet loosely. And then into that 5th side stitch, connect the blocks, and yarn over and pull through 3, and now we are going to bind off 7 stitches. So yarn over, oh, I'm sorry, do not yarn over, it's my mistake, sorry about that. Okay, we're going to bind off 7, so insert your hook into the 2nd stitch underneath, yarn over and gently pull through. 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, and the 6th one is between these two blocks. Just pick that one up on the top, go through there, yarn over, gently pull through, and then you're going to go into that top left corner of the adjacent block and bind off that stitch as well. Now to do the second block in the 3rd row, you're going to repeat the process that you did in row 2. You're going to yarn over and pick up 5 stitches. So yarn over, pick up 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, and then the 5th stitch you're going to want to jump over and go into that bottom loop. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each, one for each row. You're going to go into that bottom, so yarn over, pull up the loop, and now you should have 11 stitches on your hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So yarn over, pull through 3, because we do not need to do the edge stitch until the 3rd block. So yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, through 3, all the way to the end. That is your setup row for the 2nd block in the 3rd row. So we just continue in the same manner. Pick up 5 stitches. So we're actually now repeating row 1. Oops. Did that one over again. 4, and then the 5th one would be in the next edge stitch, and then yarn over and pull through 3, yarn over through 3, yarn over through 3, 3, and 3. Now pick up 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, pull through 3, I did not have that 3. I have to do that row again. Oops. Okay, you might want to jump ahead. I did not hold that edge, so now I have to repeat that. Go back. Sorry. And then pull through 3. Sometimes I have a hard time defining these stitches. If I try to pull down, that helps somewhat. But honestly, this is not a very difficult pattern. I think I just need a little more practice. And And like I said, sometimes it's the yarn that I'm working with that's a little more difficult, and I definitely suggest not using dark colors. Use lighter colors. It's easier to see the stitches. Now pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 3, 3, 3, and the last 3, and 2 more rows. We're almost there. 1, 2, 3, 4, to that side stitch, 5, yarn over, pull through 3, 3, 3, 3, and the last 3, and 1 more row, some more yarn here. It's only curling because I'm crunching it up. It's basically a flat pattern. One, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one. We're almost there. Yarn over, pull through 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. Now we can bind off 7 stitches. So again, start with the 2nd from the hook, underneath, yarn over, and gently pull through. Insert your hook, yarn over, that's 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th one is between these 2 blocks. Pick that up, bind that off, and the 7th bind off stitch is in the top corner on the left. Insert your hook and bind that one off as well. Now we are at the edge, because I'm left-handed, so my edge is going to be on the right. If you're doing this and you're right-handed, your edge is going to be on the left. So for me, I have to pick up 6 stitches now because I have to create that edge stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and pick up 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th stitch again is going to be yarn over and right through that edge loop. And if it's a little too loose, just pull that tail where you ended it the last time they ended that block. So yarn over and now go through 1 to create your edge. Yarn over, pass through 3 for the rest of the row. Yarn over, pass through 3. Did 1, 2, 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. Yarn over, pass through 3. Okay, so we're going to do 5 rows, a total of 5 rows, and then the bind off. So again, you can use DK weight yarn, or you can use worsted weight yarn, but just keep in mind this does make a dense fabric. Your sixth stitch, yarn over and go through that loop on the edge. So depending on the yarn you use, just keep in mind if you want a lighter fabric, you'll have to go with the lighter DK weight yarn. Yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over and pull through three, pull through three, three, I don't have three. Okay, so I have to hold that yarn, hold that loop, and redo that row. Through that edge loop for the sixth, yarn over, pull through one, yarn over through three, so again, we need to do 3 more rows, so we have a total of 5. And as you can see, it becomes rather monotonous. I wouldn't say mindless, because you do have to pay attention. You do need to have a yarn over for almost every stitch. So you do want to pay attention to all those yarn overs, that's important, and your edge stitch. But yarn over one, I find that it's good for the brain when you do something in which you have to concentrate. I don't want anything that's too routine or too easy. I like to have something that has a little bit of a challenge to it. And for me, Tunisian crochet is a little bit more of a challenge than traditional crochet. Maybe because I'm fairly new at it, but I do enjoy the process. I think it makes a beautiful fabric. It gives it a nice appearance and a good texture. So yarn over, and pick up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then through the edge, loop for your 6th stitch, and then pass through 1, pass through 3, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. We're almost there. And we need to do one more row and then the bind off, and that will complete the third block. So yarn over, pick up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th, yarn over and go through that edge loop. Yeah. One more return pass row, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over through 3, yarn over through 3, yarn over through 3, over through 3, and now we are ready to do the bind off row. We are going to bind off 7. So on the 6th row, that is where you bind off. And again, start with the 2nd stitch from the hook underneath, yarn over and pull through. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that 7th bind off stitch is on the edge. Through that loop, yarn over and gently pull through, then you can chain 1 and cut your yarn. So that completes rows 1, row 2 and 3, rows 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I know that was a process. I believe I did show you this. No, I did not. Let me show you this. This is row 3 of the blanket that we just covered. So hopefully these instructions have been helpful, and I thank you all for bearing with me through this arduous process. I think for you it will probably be a bit easier, especially if you're familiar with Tunisian crochet. And again, I want to stress it is not a difficult pattern. I know that I was struggling at times with some of this yarn, but it is a fun project and I encourage you to give it a try. You can, oh, we have a storm coming. You can change the color for each row, or you can use one skein of variegated yarn for the different rows. Well, you'll need more than one skein depending on the size of your blanket, but you just continue in this manner until you have made the blanket the desired size you want. So in part 2, which will not be as lengthy as this one, I can assure you, we are just going to fill in these 2 squares, and then you'll have your completed block, and you can just keep going until your desired length and width, and then you'll have more blocks to fill in, but it won't be a problem. Once you know the process, you know what they say, it's easy if you know how. So of course of course it is easy when you know how, but Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your interest and your comments. And I want to wish you a happy day and God bless. Thank you so much for watching.